The sun had barely risen over the small village of Caden, a peaceful place surrounded by rocky hills and narrow dirt roads in central Turkey. Most people here lived simple lives. They farmed, raised goats, and knew everyone by name. Life had not changed much for generations. The people worked hard, ate together, and shared stories around the evening fire. Among them was a man named Kemal, a humble craftsman who lived alone in a stone house at the edge of the village. His home had been built by his grandfather long ago, and though it was old, it stood firm, until the earth shook one quiet night. It was not a big earthquake, but enough to wake everyone. Pots fell from shelves, dust filled the air, and dogs barked in the dark. When the morning came, Kemal noticed a long crack across one wall of his basement. He sighed, picked up his tools, and decided to fix it before the damage grew worse. He worked quietly through the morning, clearing broken bricks and loose stones. As he hit one part of the wall with his hammer, something unexpected happened. The hammer broke through into empty space behind the wall. The sound was strange, hollow. Kemal froze for a moment. He touched the hole, felt cool air coming from it. It was not just a small gap, it was a tunnel. Curiosity replaced his worry. He fetched a torchlight and bent down to look inside. Beyond the wall was darkness, but the ground sloped downward. The air smelled old, dry, and still. He called for his cousin Mira, who lived nearby and often helped him with repairs. Mira was younger and full of excitement for anything mysterious. When she saw the opening, her eyes widened. "You think it's a cave?" she asked. "Maybe," Kemal said. "But I've lived here all my life. No one ever said there was one under our homes." Mira smiled. "Then maybe we'll be the first to see it." With a rope tied around his waist and a torch in his hand, Kemal went first. The tunnel was narrow, carved into soft rock, and seemed to go on endlessly. The deeper he went, the cooler it became. Mira followed carefully, her small lamp lighting the walls. They noticed marks, lines, and shapes carved with care. They were not random scratches. They looked like symbols, maybe letters from some unknown language. The passage opened into a wider room, almost like a hall. Dust covered everything. The ceiling was curved and smooth. Along the sides were empty alcoves, as if people once stored something there. On the floor lay fragments of old pottery and pieces of metal that had turned dark with age. Kemal knelt down and picked up one small metal object. It was round, with patterns too precise to be made by hand tools from ancient times. "This isn't just a cave," he whispered. "Someone built this." They explored a few more rooms, moving slowly so as not to disturb anything. Each chamber connected to another through narrow doorways, and everywhere they went they found signs of careful design: straight walls, corners that met perfectly, and floors that seemed made to guide water or air. It was as if this place had been planned by engineers. Mira's excitement grew. "We have to tell someone," she said. "This could be important." Kemal nodded, though part of him wanted to keep it secret just for a while. It felt like trespassing into the past, but they both knew they needed experts to understand what they had found. That evening, they visited Dr. Halen, an archaeologist who often worked with local sites. Halen was a patient man with a quiet voice. When Kemal explained what had happened, Halen raised an eyebrow but agreed to come and see it himself. The next morning, he arrived with 2 assistants and their equipment. The team widened the entrance safely and went down with proper lights. As soon as they entered, Halen knew this was no ordinary discovery. "This is far too deep and complex for a simple storage chamber," he said. "Look at the walls, cut with precision." These were not primitive tools. For hours, the small team explored carefully. The passageways continued farther than expected, turning into stairs that descended into the earth. They reached a level where there were large open spaces, rooms big enough to fit dozens of people. Old ventilation shafts still stood, cleverly angled to let air flow even after thousands of years. Mira touched one of the walls and found a faint design beneath the dust, a carving of human figures. They were shown standing beneath what looked like stars surrounded by tall structures. At their feet were circular shapes that looked like doors or shields. "They look human," she said softly. "But the way they dressed, it's not like any history I've seen." Dr. Halen took pictures and notes, his excitement growing. "If this city was truly made by humans, it's one of the oldest ever built underground. But how did it stay hidden for so long?" Kemal stood quietly, feeling both proud and uneasy. His small home had hidden a world beneath it. He thought of how his grandfather used to tell old stories about people of the earth who once vanished below the hills during times of fire in the sky. As a child, he had laughed at those tales. Now he wasn't so sure. By the third day, word had spread through the village. More people came to see the strange hole behind Kamal's house. Reporters arrived from nearby towns asking questions. Halen tried to keep the site controlled, but curiosity grew faster than he could manage. The government soon sent officials to assist, and within a week the small village was filled with workers, lights and cables running into the ground. The team discovered more levels below the first. They found evidence of living spaces, kitchens, water storage systems, and tunnels that seemed to stretch far beyond the mapped area. Halen estimated that thousands of people could have lived here safely for years. This wasn't just a shelter, he told his team. It was a city. One night, as Kamal and Mira watched the camp lights flicker outside, they heard a faint sound coming from the tunnel, like wind moving through metal. Kamal grabbed his torch and went down again, curious. When they reached the main chamber, the air felt different, cooler and faintly humming. "Do you hear that?" Mira whispered. "Yes," he said, frowning. It wasn't there before. He followed the sound to the far corner of the hall. There, behind a pile of fallen stones, they found a strange panel made of smooth metal, embedded into the wall. It looked nothing like the ancient stonework around it. A thin line of light pulsed faintly across its surface, as if reacting to their presence. Kamal hesitated. Should we tell Dr. Halen first? But Mira was already brushing off the dust. "Maybe it's part of the old design," she said. She pressed her hand against the panel. Nothing happened for a moment. Then suddenly the faint light spread across the wall like ripples in water. The hum grew louder. Startled, they stepped back. The symbols carved around the room began to glow faintly, one by one, as if awakened from a long sleep. The ground beneath them vibrated softly, not in a dangerous way, but like a machine starting up after being silent for too long. They stood frozen, their eyes wide. "Kamal," Mira whispered, "I think we just turned something on." The lights dimmed and steadied into a soft blue color. A faint projection appeared in the air, unclear like mist-forming shapes. It looked like a person, but transparent and shimmering. It said nothing, only stood as if waiting. Then after a few seconds, it vanished and the room went silent again. Kamal's heart pounded. "No one will believe this," he said quietly. "They will," Mira replied. "Because tomorrow we'll show them." The next morning, Dr. Halen and the team returned to the chamber. They examined the panel but could not explain how it worked. It had no switches, no visible power source. The materials were unknown, not stone, not metal as they knew it. Halen's hands trembled slightly as he spoke. "This is far beyond any ancient tool. Whoever built this had knowledge we still don't understand." He looked around the vast chamber, the silent walls, the still air. "This place," he said softly, "was never meant to be found by accident." Kamal looked back at the tunnel leading home, now lit by the glow of electric lamps and busy workers. The peaceful life he had known was gone, replaced by mystery and questions too large for one man. Yet deep inside he felt something awakening, not just beneath the ground but within himself. Something told him that what they had uncovered was only the beginning. The discovery beneath the small village had turned into a worldwide event. Journalists, scientists, and government officers filled the narrow streets. What had once been a quiet community now echoed with the sounds of generators, drilling machines, and hurried voices. Every evening, lights shone from the hill where the entrance to the underground world stood, making it look like the mouth of a sleeping giant that had finally awakened. For Kamal and Mira, the days passed in a blur. They were no longer just villagers. They had become the first witnesses to a secret that had slept under their feet for thousands of years. The archaeologist, Dr. Halen, took full control of the excavation, but he never forgot that it had all begun with a man fixing his basement. By the end of the week, the exploration team had cleared more of the tunnel. What they found next left everyone speechless. The stairs they had followed from the upper chamber led to another level far larger than anyone expected. The tunnels opened into a massive hall supported by strong stone columns. The air was cool and dry, preserved by a perfect ventilation system that still worked even after millennia. Mira ran her hand over the smooth wall. "It feels alive," she said softly. Halen smiled. "Not alive, but designed to last forever. Whoever built this knew exactly what they were doing." At one side of the chamber stood a large gate, carved from a single piece of dark rock. Across its surface were more of the glowing symbols they had seen before. The light shimmered faintly, almost breathing. "It's reacting to us," Mira said. Halen nodded slowly. "Yes, it's as if the city itself is watching." Teams of specialists studied the structure for hours, but no one could find a way to open it. The material was stronger than anything they could cut or break, so they turned to mapping the other areas. What they discovered was astonishing. Streets, rooms, and stairways leading in every direction. It was an entire city beneath the earth. They found kitchens with stone ovens, water wells connected to underground streams, and storage rooms filled with jars sealed tight with resin. Some still contained grains and dried fruits that had turned to dust, but showed clear signs of careful preservation. It was clear that this place had been built to sustain life for years, maybe generations. Dr. Halen took notes quickly. "This could have housed more than 20,000 people," he said. "And these designs, they're far more advanced than anything known from this period." Kamal followed quietly behind the group. His torchlight caught a line of carvings high on the wall. It showed humans working together to move huge stones, guided by strange flying objects above them. He pointed to it. "Look at those shapes. They don't look like birds." Halen stared at it for a long time. "No, they don't," he agreed. "And that raises a question: who taught them to build this?" As the days passed, new areas opened up. One tunnel led to a wide circular room filled with pillars and strange metallic plates embedded in the floor. When one worker accidentally stepped on a plate, it gave off a dull vibration. The noise carried through the air like a deep breath. The entire team froze. "Don't move," Halen ordered. He crouched down and examined the floor. "It's part of the mechanism, but it's still active." No one spoke for a long moment. Then slowly the sound faded. The team marked the area off and moved on carefully. Mira whispered to Kamal, "It's like this city is asleep, and every time we touch something it stirs a little more." Kamal nodded. "Yes, and maybe one day it will wake fully." In the following week, a research camp was set up on the surface. Scientists brought scanning machines, drones, and computers. The Turkish government gave permission for continued study, but they restricted the number of people allowed inside. Only trusted members of the team, Halen, his assistants, and a few locals, including Kamal and Mira, were allowed to explore the deeper levels. One evening, when most workers had left for dinner, Kamal stayed behind in the lower halls. He liked the silence there. The air was cool, and the faint light from the wall markings gave the place an almost sacred feeling. As he walked, his footsteps echoed softly. Suddenly, he noticed something new. A doorway partly hidden behind a fallen column. He had passed this area before, but he had never seen that opening. Perhaps some dust or debris had shifted. Curious, he called for Mira, who had been helping Halen upstairs. Together, they cleared the entrance and stepped inside. The chamber beyond was smaller but filled with strange shapes. Against the far wall stood 3 tall statues made of the same dark stone as the main gate. Each figure held an orb in its hand. The orbs were smooth and silver, untouched by time. Mira reached out to one of them. "It looks like a human holding the world," she said. Kamal shook his head. "Or maybe it's holding something else, something more powerful." At the base of one statue, they found an inscription. The words were written in a mix of ancient languages. Dr. Halen arrived shortly after, drawn by their excited voices. He shone his light over the symbols and began to read slowly. "It says, 'We built this place when the sky burned. We hid our wisdom here until the time of return.'" He stepped back, his face pale. "This isn't just a shelter. It's a vault, a storage of knowledge, maybe even technology." Over the next few days, experts from around the world joined the research. Every new discovery added more mystery. The city's design used methods still unknown to modern engineering. The stones were fitted so tightly that not even a hair could pass between them. The ventilation system used angled shafts that could carry air through miles of tunnels without machines. And yet here and there they found pieces of metal and glass that no one could identify. One afternoon, Mira was documenting wall carvings when her camera began to flicker. The lights dimmed. She frowned and checked her batteries. They were full. Then she noticed something. The air was humming again, low and deep. It felt like the sound was coming from the ground itself. "Kamal!" she called. He ran to her side. The humming grew louder. The same blue light they had seen before began to pulse through the walls, spreading through the entire chamber. The others gathered, watching in silence as a wide section of the floor slid open, revealing a staircase that led even deeper into the earth. Dr. Halen was speechless. "It's another level," he whispered. "And it's opening for us." Carefully, they descended the new stairs. The air was colder here. The stone changed from rough brown to smooth black, as if polished by machines. Long corridors stretched in every direction, lined with tall pillars that glowed faintly. The deeper they went, the more it felt like they were walking through something alive. At the end of one hallway stood a massive circular door made of metal. It had the same glowing patterns as the first gate, but this one was covered with hand-shaped prints burned into the surface. It was as if countless people had touched it before leaving. "What is behind this?" Mira asked quietly. Dr. Halen answered, "Maybe the heart of the city." He ordered everyone to stay back while he examined it. There were no visible handles or locks, yet faint waves of energy moved beneath its surface. The machines they brought for measurement failed to record anything. Every electronic device began to glitch. Then, without warning, the door gave a slow, deep sound like thunder rolling through the earth. It did not open, but the glow around it intensified. On the wall beside it, a new message appeared, written in golden light. None of them had seen it before. Halen read it aloud. "The children of the surface have returned. The guardians will awaken." Silence followed. No one moved. Even the air felt thicker. Mira's voice trembled. "What does it mean?" Halen's answer was soft. "It means whoever built this city expected us to come back someday." They left the chamber quietly, unsure whether they had discovered history or reactivated it. Above ground, the night sky was calm, filled with stars. But deep below, the hum continued, echoing through the forgotten halls as if something ancient was slowly rising from sleep. Kamal looked back at the entrance, his heart heavy with both fear and pride. "If our ancestors built this," he said, "then they were greater than we ever imagined." Mira nodded, her eyes shining with wonder. "And maybe they left it for us, to remind us who we really are." The lights from the underground city glowed faintly behind them, whispering stories that no book had ever told. The city was awake now, and humanity's oldest secret was finally breathing again. The discovery of the lower level changed everything. The world now knew about the ancient underground city, but no one knew how deep it truly went. Scientists, engineers, and historians from every continent arrived to study it. Tents and equipment filled the small Turkish village until it looked more like a research base than a home for farmers. Yet deep below, beyond all the noise and light above, the city slept in perfect silence, waiting for something. Kamal, Mira, and Dr. Halen were now part of a small team allowed to explore the newly opened level. Only a few people were trusted to go down there because of the strange energy readings and the unknown technology found inside. The others called it the core, for it seemed to be the heart of the entire structure. The walls of the core were made of black stone mixed with something metallic. When they touched it, it felt both warm and cold at the same time. Soft blue lights ran through the seams like veins of energy. It didn't look like any ancient site. It looked alive, like something from another age of humanity or from another world. Dr. Halen spoke carefully as his voice echoed through the vast space. "These designs, they don't belong to any known civilization. The geometry, the symbols, the materials, they're far ahead of what ancient humans were supposed to know." Mira pointed at the glowing lines that spread across the floor. "They look like circuits," she said. "Like the inside of a machine." Halen nodded. "That's exactly what I'm thinking. This entire city might not just be a city. It could be one enormous mechanism." Kamal looked around the dark hall, his flashlight sweeping over pillars and long corridors that disappeared into darkness. He couldn't help but feel small. If it's a machine, he said, then what was it built to do? No one had an answer. They spent hours scanning the walls, mapping the chambers, and studying the strange symbols. Each time they powered up their devices, the readings changed. It was as if the city reacted to their presence, adjusting itself, learning from them. Some machines even shut down when they got too close to certain walls. After 3 days of careful study, Dr. Halen made a plan. "We'll focus on the center chamber," he said. "If this is the core, that's where the power source should be." The central room was a massive circular space with a domed ceiling that stretched high above. At its center stood a tall pillar made of glass-like material, filled with soft blue light that pulsed slowly, like the beat of a heart. The floor around it was marked with concentric rings, each ring covered in the same glowing symbols they had seen before. Mira stepped closer to the pillar. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Kemal nodded, his voice low. "It's like it's breathing." They approached carefully. As they did, their devices began to flicker again. The pillar responded with a stronger glow, as if recognizing them. Halen raised a hand to stop the others. "No sudden movements," he said. "Let's record everything first." But then something unexpected happened. Mira's camera light flashed 3 times, though she hadn't pressed any button. The pillar pulsed brightly, and the rings on the floor started to rotate slowly, silently. The whole chamber came alive. The air trembled. "Kemal, step back!" Halen shouted. But before they could retreat, the door behind them slid shut, sealing them inside. For a moment, panic filled the room. Mira tried to reopen the door, but it wouldn't move. The lights grew brighter. Symbols on the walls changed, forming new patterns as if rewriting themselves. Then the floor beneath their feet projected shapes of light, images, moving scenes. The team stood frozen as they watched a holographic display come to life before them. It showed people, humans, wearing strange armor and carrying tools that glowed like fire. They worked together to build great cities under the earth. Above them, the skies were filled with burning streaks like falling stars. Explosions lit the air. "It's a war," Halen whispered. They were hiding from something. The images continued. The people built machines and ships. They stored knowledge in glowing orbs and placed them in deep vaults. The last scene showed a group of leaders standing before the same pillar they now stood beside. One of them raised his hand and the entire city dimmed like it was being put to sleep. Then the images vanished, leaving silence. No one spoke for several seconds. The room felt different now, charged with meaning. Mira finally broke the silence. "They were us," she said softly. "Humans. Long before our time." Halen nodded slowly. "If this recording is real, then human civilization is far older than history tells us. They built this city to survive something catastrophic." As if hearing their words, the pillar pulsed again and a new sound filled the air, a low hum, deep and rhythmic. The ground vibrated. Blue light flowed through the walls, traveling down the hallways and out of sight. Kemal turned toward the door. "It's unlocking," he said. The metal slid open with a hiss. They stepped out, only to find that the entire lower level was glowing now. All across the city, dormant mechanisms were awakening. Dr. Halen ordered the team to retreat to the upper level and record everything. "We don't know what this activation will do," he said. "It could be dangerous." On the surface, generators and computers began to fail as strange electromagnetic waves interfered with their systems. Scientists watched their screens fill with unreadable symbols. Something in the depths of the earth was sending signals, patterns repeating across frequencies no one had seen before. Kemal and Mira stood outside their tent watching the night sky. "Do you think we made a mistake?" Mira asked. Kemal hesitated. "I don't know, but maybe this was supposed to happen." The message said the children of the surface had returned. Maybe it means us. The next morning, the team went down again to see what had changed. To their surprise, the city was brighter, cleaner somehow. Dust had vanished from the air. Some of the old machinery now moved, gently, quietly. The water channels flowed again. It was as if the city had repaired itself overnight. In one corner of the main hall, they discovered a new doorway. It hadn't been there before. It led to a narrow corridor lined with smooth metallic panels. At the end stood another device, similar to the pillar but smaller, shaped like a console. It glowed faintly and symbols appeared across its surface. Halen leaned forward. "It's an interface," he said. "A control system." He reached out and touched the panel gently. The symbols shifted under his fingers, forming a sentence in English. "Identify." The 3 humans looked at each other. Mira whispered, "It's asking who we are." Halen took a deep breath and said aloud, "We are humans." From the surface, the panel went silent for a moment. Then slowly it responded. The letters changed. Human presence confirmed. Reactivation process complete. A low rumble spread through the chamber. Lights brightened everywhere. The sound of machinery moving filled the halls. The entire city seemed to take a breath after thousands of years of sleep. Suddenly, the console projected another image. It showed a map of the world, dotted with several glowing points. "Look at that," Mira said. "Those are other cities." Halen stared at it, amazed. "There are more." all across the Earth. The console's message continued. Network restored. Signal transmission initiated. On the surface, communication towers across Turkey began to pick up strange frequencies. Scientists far away detected matching signals from deep underground locations in Asia, Africa, and South America. The same ancient design, the same power signatures. Humanity had awakened a network that had been hidden for thousands of years. Back below, the team stood in awe. The hum of the city had grown into a steady rhythm. The lights no longer flickered, they burned strong and clear. The air was warmer now, filled with quiet energy. Mira turned to Halen. If they built this to protect themselves, maybe it's meant to protect us too. Halen nodded. Or to remind us of what we used to be. Kamal looked up at the high ceiling where blue light danced like stars. Then we have to understand it, he said, before the rest of the world tries to control it. They didn't know it yet, but across the globe, governments and research groups were already tracing the signal. Something ancient and human had reawakened, and it was reaching out to anyone who could listen. The underground city was no longer just a secret. It had become a voice from the past, one that spoke not in words, but in light and power, and deep in the heart of the earth. Beneath Turkey's quiet villages, humanity's oldest machine continued to stir, whispering through the walls, "The time of return has begun." The awakening of the underground city had changed everything. Once silent and secret, the city now thrummed with energy. Blue light pulsed along walls and soft hums echoed through the vast halls. For Kamal, Mira, and Dr. Halen, every step felt heavier with responsibility. They were no longer just explorers. They were witnesses to a legacy that had slept beneath the earth for thousands of years. Above ground, the village had grown chaotic. News of the discovery spread faster than anyone could manage. Scientists, reporters, and government officials argued over access to the site. Yet the underground city itself remained a place of calm. Inside, the machinery hummed steadily, as if it understood that only a few were ready to face its truth. The team decided to focus on the new corridors discovered in the previous part. These led further downward, toward chambers that seemed untouched. Dust covered the floor, but it was faint, almost like the air itself was preserving the rooms. The walls were lined with inscriptions, symbols, and carvings that shimmered faintly under their lights. "Look at this," Mira said, brushing away dust from a large mural. It depicted humans building enormous structures underground, surrounded by strange objects in the sky. Some figures carried glowing orbs, while others guided what looked like floating ships. These people, they were advanced, far beyond what anyone imagined. Dr. Halen knelt to examine the carvings. "This tells a story," he said. "It is a record of survival, of knowledge passed down in secrecy. These people anticipated danger from above and below the ground. They hid everything, their technology, their culture, their wisdom, so it could be preserved." Kamal ran his fingers along the wall. He felt the energy beneath the stone, the same pulse that had awakened the city. They weren't just hiding from nature, he said. They were hiding from something else, maybe something that could threaten humans. The inscriptions told stories of strange beings that had once roamed the skies. They were taller than humans with elongated limbs and glowing eyes. The carvings suggested these beings had attacked early human civilizations, forcing the ancestors to flee underground. Yet the humans had not given up. They had built cities, machines, and vaults filled with knowledge meant to survive any threat. As the team moved deeper, they discovered a chamber that seemed to serve as a library. Shelves of stone held scrolls, tablets, and orbs that glowed faintly. The materials were unlike anything known to modern science. The orbs, when held, felt warm and vibrated slightly. It was clear they contained information, perhaps even energy, encoded in ways humans had forgotten. Mira picked one up carefully. A holographic projection appeared, showing a map of the city. Rooms that they had not yet explored lit up in blue light. Symbols floated above the map, rearranging themselves as if waiting to be decoded. "It's showing us the entire city," she whispered. "And maybe more." Dr. Halen examined another tablet. "These inscriptions, they speak of a council, a group of humans who governed the city. They were called the Guardians. Their role was to protect knowledge, preserve technology, and guide humanity if the surface became unsafe again." Kamal's eyes widened. "You mean, we are seeing what they left for us?" Halen nodded. "Exactly. Everything here was hidden to survive the test of time, and now by awakening the city, we are being given access to that legacy. The next day, the team reached another chamber deeper below the library. This one was unlike anything they had seen. Tall pillars of metal and glass rose toward the ceiling. The walls were etched with strange patterns that shifted when observed from different angles. At the center of the room stood a large console, more intricate than the smaller one they had seen before. Mira approached cautiously. "It's like a machine," she said, "but alive." Halen examined it carefully. "I think this is the city's control system. It may govern power, lighting, air circulation, and perhaps much more." As they activated the console, symbols lit up and a holographic figure appeared. It was humanoid, wearing robes and holding an orb in one hand. It spoke in a language they did not understand, yet somehow they comprehended the meaning. "Welcome, children of the surface," the figure said. Its voice was calm but carried authority. "You have awakened what was hidden. We are the Guardians. Long ago, humanity faced extinction. We built this sanctuary to protect knowledge, to preserve the future." Mira gasped. "It's talking to us. Directly." Dr. Halen stepped closer. "This is incredible. It's a record of history and instruction." The hologram continued. "Our cities were built to endure threats from the sky and the earth. The beings who hunted our ancestors have long been gone, but the knowledge we preserved must be reclaimed when the time is right. You are now the inheritors of this legacy." Kamal felt a mix of awe and fear. "We have to understand everything before anyone misuses it," he said quietly. The Guardian's image nodded. "Knowledge is a responsibility. Power without wisdom is dangerous. Learn, protect, and share only when the world is ready." As the hologram spoke, the team noticed that the symbols on the walls began to glow in response. Maps, star charts, and mathematical equations appeared. Ancient knowledge flowed around them, as if the city itself was teaching them. Mira ran her fingers through the glowing symbols, fascinated by patterns that represented technologies unknown to modern science. "This is unbelievable," she whispered. "They encoded everything. Every discovery, every invention, every warning is here." Dr. Halen pointed to a diagram showing a series of orbs and lines connecting them across the world. "They built other cities like this one," he said. "Networked, hidden, protected. This isn't just a local underground city. It's a global system." Kamal looked at the maps with awe. So humanity wasn't alone in its struggles. But it survived using these cities. "Yes," Halen said. "And now the question is, what do we do with this knowledge? How do we use it wisely?" The hologram continued, showing images of humans using machines to purify water, grow food underground, and even travel across the stars. There were designs for ships, energy systems, and devices that could store immense amounts of information. Everything had been preserved carefully, waiting for someone to inherit it. Mira noticed one orb on the floor glowing brighter than the rest. She picked it up and a projection appeared. It showed humans standing together, raising their hands to the sky as if promising to protect the earth. Symbols around them spoke of unity, courage, and resilience. "The Guardians wanted to remind us that humanity can endure," she said softly, "no matter what happens above the ground." Halen nodded. "And that's the lesson we must carry forward. This is not just a city, it's a message. Humanity has survived before, and it can survive again if we honor the past." The team spent days studying the library, mapping corridors and decoding symbols. Every discovery revealed more about the original builders. They learned that the underground cities had been built in secret across different continents, designed to survive natural disasters, wars, and unknown threats. The Guardians had left clear instructions. The cities should only awaken when humanity was ready to reclaim its lost knowledge. One evening, Kamal and Mira sat at the entrance to the lower level, watching the glowing city beneath their feet. "Do you think the surface is ready?" Mira asked. Kamal thought for a long time. "I don't know, but maybe. Humanity doesn't need to be ready yet. Maybe we just need to protect it, keep it safe, and learn first." Above them, the stars shone quietly, yet deep below, the city pulsed like a heartbeat. The past and the present were connected, and the future was waiting. Humanity's hidden legacy had been found, but it was not yet time to share it with the world. For now, the city beneath Turkey would teach those who were patient, wise, and ready to understand its true power. And somewhere deep in the corridors, hidden for millennia, the Guardian's legacy whispered through the walls. guiding the team with silent words. Learn, protect, prepare. Humanity's return is only beginning. The underground city had awakened, and with it, a promise that humans were more capable, resilient, and brilliant than the world above had ever imagined. The underground city had awakened completely. After days of study, Kamal, Mira, and Dr. Halen realized that what they had found was more than a hidden shelter. It was a blueprint for humanity's future. The machines, the symbols, and the glowing orbs held knowledge that could change the world if used wisely. But with knowledge came responsibility. They knew that humanity was not yet ready to understand everything above the surface. For now they needed to learn, explore, and prepare. The surface remained chaotic. News of the city had spread worldwide, and governments, scientists, and corporations were all drawn to Caden. Satellites, drones, and research teams monitored every activity. Some wanted access, some wanted control, and others only wanted to study it. Halen realized that the world above could not yet be trusted with the city's secrets. Deep below, the city hummed steadily, responding to its new visitors. The pillar in the central chamber pulsed in a calm rhythm like a heartbeat. The holographic guardian's image appeared intermittently, offering guidance, teaching lessons, and reminding the team of their mission: protect, learn, and preserve. Mira explored a new corridor that had opened overnight. The walls were covered with glowing maps of the stars, showing locations of other hidden cities across the globe. Each city had a similar energy signature, as if the Guardians had left a network of safe havens. Mira could feel the pulse of the machines through the floor like a quiet warning. The world above might not yet be ready, but the cities were alive and waiting. "Kamal," she called softly, "come look at this." He hurried over, shining his light on the maps. "They're everywhere," he said. "Africa, South America, Asia. We aren't alone in this legacy." Halen joined them, examining the glowing lines connecting the cities. "This network is brilliant," he said. "It's not just about survival. It's about guidance, protection, and uniting humans when the time comes." The team began documenting the entire network, recording coordinates, energy signatures, and the technology embedded in each city. Every discovery showed that the Guardians had been far more advanced than modern humans. They had created cities that could endure earthquakes, floods, and even atmospheric disasters. They had built machines that could purify water, grow food, and even generate energy endlessly. Every tool and design was meant to ensure the survival of humanity. As they explored, Mira found another chamber filled with small star-shaped orbs. When she touched one, a projection appeared showing humans building ships designed for travel beyond Earth. They were not only protecting humans here, she said. They were preparing for something bigger, maybe life beyond the planet. Halen examined the projection carefully. It seems they wanted humans to continue no matter what happened. These ships, the orbs, the knowledge, they are all part of a plan to give humanity a second chance. Kamal looked at the glowing chamber, his mind filled with wonder. "We always thought humans were fragile," he said softly. "But the Guardians, they knew we were stronger than we believed." That night, the surface was quiet. The team remained in the city, guided by the Guardians' holograms. Blue light reflected off the polished floors, giving the tunnels an ethereal glow. For the first time, the city felt more like a living being than a structure. It responded to them, showing new corridors, projecting new symbols, and even opening previously hidden doors. In one newly discovered hall, they found what looked like a control room for energy. Panels lined the walls, glowing softly. Energy flowed through them, connecting to other chambers. Halen studied the design. "This could power entire cities above ground," he said, "and sustain life without relying on anything outside." Mira ran her hands over the controls. "It's beautiful," she said. "It's like it's alive and waiting for someone to learn." Suddenly, the central pillar pulsed brightly, sending waves of energy across the city. The Guardian's projection appeared larger than ever. "You have awakened the city," it said. "The network is restored. Humanity's return begins now. Use this knowledge wisely. Teach what you must. Protect what is sacred. You are the inheritors of all that was hidden." The words echoed through the halls. The team felt a deep sense of purpose. They understood that this was more than a discovery. It was a responsibility. Humanity had survived ancient threats before. Now through them it had a chance to reclaim its lost potential. The following days were a whirlwind of activity. The team learned how to operate parts of the city: air circulation, water purification, and food growth systems. Machines that had been silent for millennia now functioned effortlessly. The city's lights, air, and energy seemed to respond to their presence as if it understood their intent. Kamal, Mira, and Halen decided that the first step was to secure the city. They restricted access to the surface, ensuring only those who could be trusted would enter. Meanwhile, the team explored further, mapping tunnels, chambers, and hidden vaults. Each day revealed new lessons about ancient engineering, survival strategies, and the intelligence of their ancestors. One evening, Mira discovered a chamber filled with orbs containing holographic lessons. They projected not only technology but also ethics, history, and stories of courage. Humans long ago had left behind more than tools. They had left a guide for the mind and spirit. They were teaching us, Mira whispered, not just how to survive but how to grow, how to be better humans. Halen studied a projection showing humans working together across the globe, sharing knowledge and building networks. The Guardians wanted us to remember, he said, to unite, to cooperate, and to use knowledge responsibly. Kamal felt a strong connection to the city. It's more than just a home underground, he said. It's a reminder of who we can be. Humans are not weak. They are clever, resilient, and capable of greatness. Weeks passed, and the surface world remained unaware of the city's full potential. Governments and scientists monitored the site, but Kamal and Halen controlled access carefully. They understood that humanity was not ready to inherit the full knowledge of the underground network. It was a gift, and gifts demanded responsibility. One morning, the team received a message from the central console. You are ready. Begin the awakening above ground. Halen looked at Mira and Kamal. The time has come. We must show humanity a glimpse of what it can become, but carefully. We cannot rush it. They selected key areas of the city that demonstrated the most important technologies: water purification, energy systems, and sustainable food growth. Using projections and orbs, they began teaching the nearby villagers first. Kamal explained the designs and functions of the machines. Mira demonstrated how the food systems worked. Halen provided the history, sharing stories of the Guardians and the hidden cities. The villagers were amazed. They learned not only about the technology but also about the values behind it: cooperation, care for the environment, and long-term thinking. Word spread slowly, carefully through trusted channels. As more people learned, small changes began to appear above ground. Villagers installed simple energy systems, purified water sources, and grew food sustainably. People realized that knowledge from the past could improve life in the present. The underground city was teaching humans to be better, not just smarter but wiser. Months later, drones and satellites detected the city's signals reaching other hidden sites worldwide. The network of cities began to communicate. Each site was discovered gradually, activated cautiously, and used to teach communities about survival, knowledge, and humanity's potential. The Guardian's message became clear. Humanity's story was not just about survival. It was about growth, unity, and courage. Humans had survived before, hidden beneath the earth, and now they were rising again, guided by the wisdom of their ancestors. Kamal stood at the entrance to the underground city, watching the sun rise over the village. Mira joined him. Do you think the world above is ready? She asked. Kamal smiled. Not yet fully, but it will be. This city is giving us the chance to learn first, to show humanity who it really is. Above, the sky was filled with the golden light of morning. Below, the city hummed softly, alive and vigilant. The Guardian's presence remained, guiding those who were ready, reminding them of the lessons left thousands of years ago. And in that moment, Kamal understood. Humanity's greatest power was not just its strength or intelligence, but its ability to endure, learn, and rise. From the underground chambers of Turkey to the hidden cities across the globe, humans had survived against all odds, and now they were ready to return to the world above, wiser, stronger, and united. The underground city beneath Turkey had fulfilled its purpose. It had waited for the right time, for the right people, and for the right generation. And now humanity's return had truly begun.